Ed Kolar is standing at his kitchen counter holding an envelope that isn't his. It's Bernice's, his sister-in-law. She brought it to Sunday dinner and passed it around the table like a postcard from somewhere. 8 years retired. 8 years, and she never pulled a dollar out of that account. Not one. Then this letter came. 2 weeks later, she booked Alaska. Ed's watching all that and thinking what you'd think. Mine's coming. Same kind of account. Same fear. Same bank, honestly. One difference. Who decided Ed's got a number in his head? 73. Everybody says 73. Ed was born in 1960, and 73 is the wrong number for him. Ed's number is one of two. He had the wrong one, and he'd been planning his life around it for a year and a half. So how many more years does he sit still waiting on a letter, and what's actually inside it when it shows up? 34 years. Ed got up at 4:15, supervised delivery routes for a bread distributor out of Dubuque, knew which drivers ran early and which ones you called twice. Last day, the guys at the warehouse gave him a watch. He came home, opened the retirement statement, and did exactly what everybody told him to do. Nothing. Money you don't touch is money that keeps growing. He'd heard that his whole working life from people who were right. He told Marcia, let it sit a while longer. Marcia is his wife, 64, dental tech, retired 2 years ahead of him. She labels the freezer containers with the day of the week, not the date. Chicken and dumplings, and under it, Tuesday. Nobody's ever asked her why. Ed rereads the same Louis L'Amour paperback every winter. There are pencil marks inside the back cover. He counts. The advice Ed got was good advice. The people who handed it to him weren't crooks. Leave it alone, and you're deferring tax, and money that hasn't been taxed yet compounds on the full amount. That's arithmetic, not a slogan. And there's a whole group of people that caution is protecting. If Social Security and a pension don't cover the light bill and the property tax and the Medicare premium, that account isn't extra. It's the roof. So I'll say it once up front. If your income floor doesn't come close to covering your fixed monthly costs, the rest of this isn't for you. And anybody telling you to spend more is guessing about you. 3rd of every month, the Social Security deposit lands. That week, Marcia buys what she needs to buy. Groceries, the good coffee, new tires in March. Nobody holds a meeting. In April, Marcia asked about Door County. 4 nights, off-season, the place with the porch. Ed said, let me look at it. By September, they were still looking at it. Same dollars, same store, same 2 people. Ed had been asking permission for a year and a half without noticing he was asking, and he hadn't once noticed who he was asking. In October, he finally called the company that holds the account. 1 question. He'd practiced it in the truck. What year does my letter come? She asked for his date of birth. He gave it. He heard her typing. Then she said it. 75. Not 73. 73 is the rule for people born from 1951 through 1959. Bernice was born in 53. Bernice got 73. Ed was born in 1960. Congress moved the line in a law called Secure 2.0, and it moved right past him. He did it on his fingers, standing there in the kitchen. 75 minus 66. 9 years. Now, the part he hasn't told anybody except Marcia, for about 4 seconds, he felt relief. 9 years. 9 years before anybody makes him decide anything. Then he heard himself being relieved. That's when his stomach went cold. A man who's relieved to wait 9 more years to spend his own money is being spared, not careful, and he just found out he liked it. So he asked one more question. Nobody asks this one. What does the letter say? It says a number, an amount he has to take out that year, and it says that amount is taxable income. Ed already knew why that rule exists. He just never said it in one sentence. That money went into the account before it was ever taxed. Every paycheck, 4:15 in the morning, untaxed dollars going in. The Treasury didn't forgive that tax. It deferred it. An age like 75 is the expiration date on the deferral. It's a collection schedule. That's the design. Nobody in that building was thinking about Marcia's knee. So the letter Ed was waiting 9 years for, the one his sister-in-law held up like a starting gun, was never permission. It's a bill. and the number on it comes off a table, not off his life. Read that again if you need to. The letter tells you how much. It has never once told anybody why. And the waiting cancels nothing. The withdrawal Ed is postponing happens anyway. He can't postpone the withdrawal. He can only postpone choosing it. While he waits, 2 clocks run against him. Ed didn't find either one on a website. He found them in a green accordion folder in the hall closet where Marcia keeps 7 years of tax returns because her father did last April's return. He went down it with a pencil, the way he used to go down a route sheet, and there it was, a chunk of their Social Security sitting on the return as income, taxed. Ed had always figured Social Security was just theirs. They paid in for 34 years. Nobody taxes you twice on the same paycheck. Here's the clock. The income line where that taxation kicks in was set in 1984. $25,000 for a single filer. Ed and Marcia's line is higher, and it's been sitting just as still. The Social Security Administration will tell you that, and so will the Congressional Research Service. It has never been adjusted for inflation, not once. Prices moved, benefits moved, the line sat there, which means every year Ed waits. A little more of a benefit he already bought and paid for gets counted as income. The second clock is the friendly one, and it's on a timer. The IRS is allowing an extra $6,000 deduction for people 65 and up. It goes away after 2028. Ed wrote that year on the back of Bernice's envelope. Underneath it, he wrote the year he turned 75. Then he sat there and looked at the space between the two. Everything in that space is the cheap part, and the cheap part is a lot shorter than the wait. Ed said something to Marcia that week I keep thinking about. He said, the Social Security money feels like ours. The other money feels like the bank's. Same account holder, same 2 names on the paperwork. That has a name, mental accounting. In plain English, your brain files the same dollar into 2 different drawers, depending on how it showed up. Money that arrives gets spent. Money that sits gets guarded. 2 researchers, David Blanchett and Michael Finke, measured that exact pattern in retiree households. People spending freely out of income and standing guard over assets, even when it's the same money. And I'll say a thing out loud that I don't have to say. A lot of the research on retirement income gets paid for by companies that sell retirement income. That's my own caution, not an accusation about those 2. I'm still using the finding because it holds up in the household data and because you deserve both halves. And if you're sitting there feeling stupid about any of this, don't. J.P. Morgan Asset Management went through EBRI's data on retiree households and found this. 80% took nothing out before the government made them. 84% of the people who hit that age took the minimum. Not $1 more. Ed isn't strange. Ed is typical. That's the problem. 1 sentence out of all this is worth keeping, so here it is. That account was never savings. It's a paycheck with the amount already filled in and the date left blank. The IRS is happy to fill in the date, 1960 plus 75, 2035. That's the date they picked for Ed. Ed can hold that pen too. And none of this is a discipline problem. 34 years, the man got rewarded every single month for not touching it. The reflex was correct. Right up until the day it stopped being correct. Nobody mails you a notice for that day. That's the one you have to catch yourself. So Ed flipped Bernice's envelope over and wrote 2 dates on the back of it. 2035, the government's date, the 3rd of next month. Then he called and set up a fixed transfer. Same amount every month on the 3rd retirement account into checking, landing the same day the Social Security does. He wrote a name for it in the register. Marcia's handwriting, not his. 6 months later, the 3rd comes around. Money lands. 2 deposits now instead of 1. Nobody holds a meeting. That's the change, not the trip. The trip is nice. The change is that a decision that used to eat 5 months now eats nothing at all. Door counties booked. 4 nights. The place with the porch. Marcia goes, well, the knee still works, which was always the real deadline. It just wasn't printed anywhere. Find your date before you go chasing a number. Born 1960 or later, it's 75. Born 1951 through 1959, it's 73. Bernice's answer was never Ed's answer, and half the advice you hear got written for whichever side of that line the writer happened to be standing on. Go look at your birth year. 4 seconds. The stretch in between is not a waiting room. For a lot of people, those are the cheapest tax years they will ever have. No forced withdrawal yet, no paycheck anymore, and part of what makes them cheap has a shelf life. That extra deduction for 65 and up goes away after 2028. You can use a window or you can watch it close. Not both. The letter gives you an amount. It does not give you a reason. The amount comes off a table somebody wrote in Washington. The reason has to come from your kitchen. 2 different documents, and only one of them shows up in the mail. Fill in the date before somebody fills it in for you. Same day every month. Give it a name, the Door County account, the roof account, whatever it honestly is, and credit where it's owed. The people telling you to pay yourself a paycheck are right, and they've been right for years. What almost nobody adds is why. It's not a budgeting trick. It's the calendar. The calendar is the expensive part. One more thing, said plainly. If your income floor doesn't cover your fixed costs, job one isn't spending more. If your health or your balance says otherwise, the math changes completely. This isn't advice for everybody, and anybody handing it to everybody is guessing. There's a calendar hanging by the refrigerator in that kitchen. Ed circled the 3rd, and next to the number, he wrote the day of the week. He got that from Marcia. Nobody's ever asked him why. Before you go, do the 4-second version with me. Which one is yours, 73 or 75? Look at your birth year. That's the whole exercise. Then drop the number in the comments. I'm curious how many of you have been carrying somebody else's number around the way Ed carried Bernice's. And if yours turns out to be 75, sit with that a minute before you feel relieved. Those extra 2 years aren't a gift. They're a longer wait for a bill. If this was useful, subscribe. No jargon, no judgment, no product to sell you. That's the channel. And if you want the other half of this, where the money should come from first, once you do start, that one's sitting right there. This is for education and entertainment only, not financial advice. For decisions about your situation, talk to a qualified fiduciary advisor, a CPA, or the SSA.